let's just dive right into it. Welcome to this explainer. You know that dominant narrative we're constantly fed about happiness? Well, honestly, it's fundamentally flawed. We're totally conditioned to view happiness as this finish line, right? Like it's some magical state that just magically appears once we've solved all our problems or when things finally settle down. But today, we're dismantling that idea completely. As Chiara Parazzini's work points out, your happiness is a choice. And just to be super clear here, we aren't talking about that shallow motivational poster kind of optimism. Oh no, we're talking about a rigorous discipline, something you build with full, total awareness of how difficult things actually are. Let's unpack what that really means.
To really frame what choosing happiness looks like in practice, we've got to look at the renowned psychiatrist and concentration camp survivor Viktor Frankl. He put it like this: happiness is not the absence of problems. It is the ability to face them without losing yourself. I mean, that just perfectly captures the whole essence of intentional well-being, doesn't it? It's not forced optimism. It's definitely not pretending everything is fine when it's absolutely not. And it's for sure not ignoring your problems. Happiness is actually a highly conscious choice. It's this active, deliberate decision about exactly where you're going to invest your attention and energy. It's about building your capacity to find meaning literally right in the middle of severe difficulty.
So, think about the two completely different mindsets we can adopt when life gets tough. First up, there's the logic of waiting. This is that super fragile mindset where we tell ourselves, okay, first I'll solve this problem and then I'll be happy. But here's the catch. In that state, your well-being is entirely dependent on external circumstances. It completely collapses at the very first sign of trouble. Because, let's face it, problems never really end. If you're waiting for perfect conditions, you're going to be waiting forever. Contrast that with the logic of choice. This is the resilient mindset. It says, I choose happiness as a daily practice. Your happiness depends on your internal habits, and strangely enough, it actually gets stronger through adversity. And there's research by Lubomirsky backing this right up. People in positive emotional states don't just feel better, they're actually more creative, they solve problems better, and they build stronger relationships. Choosing happiness literally creates the mental conditions you need to solve those tough situations in the first place.
And hey, this shift, it isn't just psychology, it's hardcore biology. People who get stuck in resentment, fear, or just withdrawing from the world, they pay a very concrete, measurable price. The biological cost of chronic unhappiness is steep. We're talking elevated cortisol, systemic inflammation, a weakened immune system, and even cognitive deterioration. It literally reduces your physical ability to handle life. But when you make that conscious choice to practice happiness, your biological profile flips. You see lower cortisol, better heart rate variability, and way more cognitive flexibility. So the big takeaway here is that choosing happiness isn't just some nice mental shift. It is an absolute biological necessity if you want to be resilient.
Okay, so how do we actually rebuild that resilience when life completely flips our reality upside down? Well, it takes intentional choices. But watch out, because there's a huge trap here. The trap of performance healing. You know what I mean? That subtle pressure we put on ourselves to look like we're doing better for the sake of everyone else, way before we actually are better. It creates this massive dissonance and honestly just delays real healing. Because authentic healing, it is completely nonlinear. You're going to have setbacks and days that are way worse than the day before. So, to break free from that performance trap, I want to challenge you with a question that demands radical honesty. Ask yourself, this week, what has been genuinely difficult without minimizing it? Really recognizing your pain honestly is the absolute first step to rebuilding. Now, once you've been honest about the hard stuff, it's time to take ownership of your direction. Which brings us to a second prompt for your week. Next week, what is the smallest and most concrete thing I can do to move in the direction I want? Notice the wording there. It doesn't say solve the whole massive problem. No, it says the smallest, most concrete thing. By breaking your recovery down into tiny, super actionable steps, you pull yourself out of paralysis. You step right back into that logic of choice. You're actively practicing happiness just by taking one tiny step toward meaning.
To give those little steps some solid structure, the science of happiness actually gives us 4 fundamental pillars for intentional well-being. Pillar 1 is plus being. This is all about post-traumatic growth, figuring out who you are after the storm hits, but now equipped with a way deeper understanding of your values. Pillar 2 is plus use. Shared happiness multiplies, right? Isolating yourself when things are tough is literally one of the most damaging mistakes you can make. The quality of your relationships is actually the strongest predictor of your health. Pillar 3 is plus discipline. Happiness takes daily practice. Think like having one meal a day completely screen-free or carving out a moment entirely for something meaningful to just you. And finally, Pillar 4, plus positive chemistry. Your body is either your best ally or your biggest obstacle, and it is so often the very first thing we neglect when trying to rebuild.
Activating that positive chemistry across the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual dimensions of our energy is absolutely not a luxury.
It's actually your best biological strategy for lasting well-being. Think about it physically. Even just light, regular movement lowers that stress hormone, cortisol, and boosts your serotonin. Emotionally, forming authentic connections literally produces oxytocin in your brain, acting like biological medicine against stress. Mentally, getting into a state of flow with activities you enjoy regenerates your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that handles strategic thinking and emotional control. And spiritually, knowing your why, finding your meaning, is documented as the #1 strongest predictor of biological resilience. When you know why you're doing something, it physically changes how your body handles hardship. Mind-blowing, right?
Which brings us to our defining takeaway for this explainer. Happiness is an act of courage. It's not a destination, it is a direction. It takes daily, conscious practice, done while being completely aware of how incredibly difficult life can be. You aren't just waiting around for the storm to pass so you can finally be happy. You're actively building the biological, mental, and emotional muscle to navigate that storm right now. So as you head into this week, I'll leave you with this. Are you going to stay trapped in the logic of waiting, or are you ready to take that smallest, most concrete step into the logic of choice? The direction is completely up to you.